Avocado.
You are now listening to The Young God, a podcast for the gods. Hey everyone, I'm Rodney and thank you for tuning in. A week ago, the news broke that 2 young girls were brutally raped here in Nigeria. One is a 12-year-old who was raped by 11 men in Jigawa State. 11 men gang raped a 12-year-old baby girl. Holy fuck. The other was a 20-year-old raped by 4 men in church while she was reading her Bible. She was killed by her abusers after the act. This happened in Edo State. What in the actual fuck? Ladies and gentlemen, the rape culture it cannot be ignored any longer. This is it. Naturally, the outrage from both events was felt nationwide. As if that wasn't bad enough, I went ahead and made some very insensitive comments about rape that came across as victim blaming. The backlash I received was intense. In fact, I never knew that my reach was, like, my words had that much reach until this thing happened. People came in my DMs just bashing me, questioning my character, calling me all sorts of things. It was worrisome, and I don't worry. At first, I defended my right to have these opinions and to share them on my platform. But as more people reached out to share their disapproval and gave me counter arguments, I came to reconsider my stance and I gained a new understanding. In all of that, I realized a couple of things. 1, I was sorely misinformed about rape and how it affects women. I hadn't considered certain facts because being a man kind of squeezes you into certain views that subconsciously places the blame on victims of rape and abuse. 2, you can mean well, hate rape and rapists, and still perpetuate things that are harmful to women. 3, men, as in male people, we need to listen to women. Like, actually listen to what they're saying in order to close the gap between what we think is happening and what is actually happening. If you're able to listen, points 1 and 2 can easily be rectified. The entire drama ended in me giving a public apology and committing to using my platform to push the messages that move the conversation where it needs to go, starting with this episode. It's important for us to understand certain fundamental facts about this issue before I proceed. Majority of rapists are men. The majority of the victims are women. Women are doing all they can. Men need to support them. Men need to do more than hate rape and not commit sexual assault. Men need to take it personally because, though not all men rape, the fear women feel affects us all. All men. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world where women fear men. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Women, at their best, are love, and I want to enjoy all that love all the time. It just sucks that a substantial minority of men are fucking it up for all of us. So yeah, this affects men whether we know it or not. This is a men's issue. For me, a good place to start is to listen to women. The message used to be, believe women, but that to me is too presumptive. I think it's much better to listen to women. And see, the problem is not that women aren't talking or they aren't speaking up. As far back as ancient Greece, when Cassandra warned the Trojans about the giant wooden horse, women have been speaking loudly and clearly. The problem is that men aren't listening. If the Trojans had listened to Cassandra, maybe they wouldn't be a historical example of defeat and failure. I'm just saying. These days, women don't necessarily want to talk to men because they don't trust them. They don't trust us, and with good reason. We're always trying to tell them how to feel, how to respond, and how to deal with their issues. They don't trust that we care, that we don't low-key support the victimization of women. I know this personally because some women hit me with righteous rage, and no matter how much I try to de-escalate the situation and explain the misunderstanding, they simply assumed the worst. It's frustrating when that happens, but I get it. Listen to women. Listen to any woman who is willing to talk to you about these things. Listen to her like she knows something you don't, because she does. Even when she's insulting you, listen. She's in pain and she feels like men like me don't care. And if we don't care, it means we're part of the problem, even if we wouldn't hurt a fly. Outside of these issues, talking to women is simply the best school, if you're willing to listen and if she's willing to talk. A lot of men grow up seeing women as things, so to them, the idea of talking to a woman is a sign of something weak and effeminate. When you spend all your time, with the boys, you tend to internalize the idea that girls are objects to be fucked and fucked with, not to be talked to. Some men are like, if you're not toasting her, what else is there to say? No wonder we find it hard to get rid of those 1,000 bad habits we pick up in boyhood, because we don't communicate with women on an equal level. If as a man, you associated with more women, you would subconsciously pick up habits and opinions that help you, not just as a man, but as a person. If we can't communicate with women on a normal level, how could we possibly communicate with them about sexual abuse and the things that matter? Fortunately, there are practical strategies to help men become better and more active listeners. First, and you heard it here from me, this is man to man now, okay? This is Rodney to all the guys there. And ladies, if you're listening, perhaps you can use this to, share with you and yours. But back to the matter. First, to be a good listener, stop talking. Shush it. I'm guilty of this. I can talk for days, hence my podcast. You cannot listen to her story and be present for her if you're too busy thinking about yourself and your next brilliant comment. Shit, and I always have a brilliant comment. But rest assured, I'm working on this actively. Second, active listening means hearing the words women are saying and taking them at face value, even if those words contradict your assumptions or your agenda. Third, being an active listener means asking questions. The more you ask, the better for you. That's just a rule of life, and it applies more so with women. You will avoid a lot of weird situations, to be honest, if you're able to ask the right questions. Ask her if any of your behaviors make her uncomfortable. Ask her what she needs from you to be more comfortable. Ask her to be explicit with you about her consent or lack thereof. Then, follow her lead. Ask her if she's ever been sexually assaulted. What you hear might shock you, and it will help you adjust your behavior. Keep in mind, though, that women don't speak with one voice. They don't all want the same things or have the same experiences, which is why you need to keep asking questions of the women you come across. Treat them as one of one. The more women you ask questions, the more information you have, the wiser you become, and the less likely you are to do something rapey, my nigga. You become a literal ladies' man, always in tune with the needs and feelings of the women you interact with. And they'll respect you for the effort. In fact, you close more deals. You would you would get in with more women that way if you put in that kind of effort. You won't even need to, put your, you know what I'm saying. Men always complain that women are impossible to figure out, when the fact is they simply aren't listening or asking questions. I mean, can I get an amen? Am I making some sense right now? I feel like I am. I feel like listening is also an underrated step towards systemic change. The government needs to listen to the opinions of their female lawmakers and prioritize the legislation that they ask for. Organizations should listen to their female employees about what policies will be most helpful to support their personal and professional flourishing. and then take active steps to enact those policies. Law enforcement needs to listen to women when they report sexual abuse and do their due diligence. Listening will not solve everything, but it's a start. Progress is impossible if men can't hear women. It's that simple. Now, here's what I've learned when I listen to women. Abby told me that getting drugged and raped is like falling asleep, waking up, and finding an organ is missing. Men, can you imagine that kind of shit? Can you imagine? Does that... Okay, let's keep going anyway. Jennifer told me, rape is bigger than everything else in my life. It lives in front of me, behind me, next to me, inside me every single day. My schedule is dictated by it. My habits, even my music. Stepney told me, do you know what it's like living in the same house with your father and brother and having to be wary of them at all times? Zara told me, I think I have a mental illness. I keep going back to the guys who hurt me. I can't help it and it kills me. Chelsea asked me, how come men have met victims and survivors, but never any perpetrators? Emily told me she didn't process the fact that she was sexually abused until much later. It was like a delayed emotional response. Zainab told me she's already fearful for the daughters she hasn't even thought of having yet. Halima told me, Rodney, women are suffering. And this last one, which really resonated with me. Dina told me, my experience with rape is quite different than most. Not in how it happened, but what happened afterwards. My third rape changed my life. I was raped by a guy I'd been dating in college. I got pregnant and lost the baby. After the incident, I never left my home, I stopped eating, and I spiraled into depression and suicide. I wanted to kill myself, but I wasn't brave enough. I started going to therapy, and it was in those sessions that I realized, because of my experiences with rape, I now know things about myself I never knew before. Things I may have never known if I was never pushed to the edge. One is that the most totally terrible, terrifying thing that I could ever imagine happened to me. And I survived. I'm still here. And this realization gave me enormous confidence and peace. I stopped being afraid. I'm a survivor, not a victim. And my life changed because of this kind of clarity. These are not strangers. These are women I have relationships with. And I'm sure if you gave the women in your life the time of day, you would hear wildly similar and wildly even more wild stuff. Listen to women, as I said. Listen to women. What you hear might shock you. And hopefully, you will begin to develop empathy for the cause and self-correct in your own way. Now, as much as men should listen to women, women need to be willing to have these conversations in good faith. Even when it's frustrating, even when it's hard, even when it seems like a chore. If the women who spoke to me in my DMs had simply given up or just not bothered to educate me, I may have never gotten here. Progress is not instant. It's the little wins. Seeds are planted through conversations that blossom into understanding over time. Don't underestimate the effort. It's in your best interest that men get it, believe it or not. So you don't just get to be in your feelings. Don't ever get tired. As much as I can talk to my guys about rape and consent, a woman's point of view is still the most powerful change agent if it is delivered with care and intention. Of that, I'm a witness. Thanks for listening. My name is Rodney. Do follow the podcast page on IG at The Young God Pod and Twitter at I am the young God. I'd love to get your feedback and I respond to everything. Well, not everything. Everything except those who don't argue in good faith. Do subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with anyone who you think might benefit. Until next time, Rodney out.